In the dusty village of Agba, the air tasted of heat and sawdust. Morning after morning, the rhythmic knock of a mallet against seasoned wood echoed through the compounds, a sound everyone immediately recognized. It was Okocha, the man whose hands shaped timber into beauty. Benches, aji stools, wardrobes no man could lift alone. His creations lasted longer than the people who used them. His fame was modest but sure. People traveled from far farms and stream banks to commission furniture for weddings, new houses, burials. They admired the way he carved patterns like water ripples or bird wings. They praised his skill, but few ever praised his heart. Beside him in life lived Mireya, his wife, small-boned, soft-spoken, but with a stubborn light in her eyes that sorrow could not bend. She prayed not as ritual, but as conversation. Sometimes at night, neighbors heard her voice, a lone murmur under moonlight, as she knelt before the clay lamp, forehead touching packed earth, whispering petitions into darkness as though the heavens stood close enough to hear her breath. Years carved silence into their home. 2 pregnancies had come like promises, only to end like rumors. Short-lived, whispered away by grief. The village women comforted her, told her God was watching, that her day would come. She endured their pity with grace, even when her heart cracked under the weight of emptiness. Then, one morning, wind carried new laughter into their home. Laughter born of surprise, fear, gratitude. Mireya conceived again. From that moment, she treated her womb like a fragile flame, shielding it with prayers, herbs, and faith. She rubbed palm oil across her belly every dawn, whispered blessings into her skin, told her unborn child that life awaited, warm and bright. In the final weeks, she sang to the life inside her, her voice trembling with both hope and terror. Labor arrived like thunder. Women gathered fast, buckets of water, clean wrappers, old wisdom. Their voices rose and fell like waves. Push, Mireya. The child is close. You will hold life today. The sun slid west like a weary traveler, and at last one cry, then another, then a third. 3 daughters, 3 wrinkled pink faces wrapped in cloth. Mireya sobbed joy like rain, her gratitude spilling onto the earth. She kissed each forehead, stunned by the abundance she had been given after so much loss. But across the room, Okocha watched as though staring into famine. His jaw tightened. His eyes, often calm while he carved wood, went cold and unyielding. The daughters should have been miracles. Instead, he saw them as curses. Mama Rayleigh, his mother, leaned close enough that her breath brushed his ear. She smelled of burnt charcoal and old bitterness. "A man with only daughters," she whispered, "is a man walking naked in the market." The words slithered into him and lodged deep, rooting like weed in fertile soil. She told him daughters were burdens, no inheritance, no legacy. She fed him stories of ancestors whose names disappeared because no sons remained. She named Mireya's womb unclean, her children a bad omen. And Okocha, bruised by past loss, swallowed superstition like truth. When Mireya stood days later, thin but glowing, 3 daughters tied to her torso like treasure she refused to drop, he confronted her in the courtyard. The goats bleated. Wind carried dust into the air. The village watched from doorframes. "You have brought me shame," he spat, voice sharp as unchiseled wood. "I needed a son, not 3 burdens." Mireya staggered, clutching the babies as though he might tear them away. She pleaded, voice low at first, then breaking in desperation. Not for herself, never for herself, for the lives still soft in her arms. But Okocha was stone, carved, cold, unmovable. He gave her 5 days to leave, 5 days to pack a lifetime into a raffia sack. The village buzzed with voices, pity from some, agreement from others who believed lineage was written in male skin alone. They watched her prepare in silence, watched her fold baby cloth, sell earrings for Gary, swallow tears where no one could see. And Mama Rayleigh, oh, she watched with triumph. At dawn on the 6th day, the gate creaked open. Mireya stepped barefoot into morning light, babies tied to her chest and back, hair uncombed, dignity still intact like a blade. She paused at the threshold, voice thin but unwavering. "If I walk alone," she said, "may these children walk with greatness." Her shadow left the compound first. Then she followed barefoot, uncertain but unbroken. She did not look back. Mireya walked until her muscles shook, until her wrapper frayed and sweat coated her like second skin. She walked through farms and across streams, begging for water only when her milk dried and her babies cried from thirst. She slept under trees some nights, palm fronds pulled over them like thin blankets. Hunger hollowed her cheeks, but determination set fire in her steps. By the time she reached Ashimiri, her feet had blistered raw. A kind tailor, seeing 3 infants and a woman wobbling between collapse and courage, offered her a leaking room behind his shop. The roof was half rust, half sky. Rain dripped like slow tears, but it was shelter. She laid palm leaves as bedding, placed her daughters in a row like seedlings, and began a new life stitched from nothing but hope. She named them with purpose. Amana, grace walks with me. Terrell, goodness follows me. Zavora, my needs are known by God. Names as prayers, names as future. Days were sweat, nights were sacrifice. Mireya washed clothes by the river, palms pruned from soap. She hawked bean cakes before sunrise, oil burning her fingers, wrappers stained with work. Some mornings she earned enough for rice and smoked fish. Other mornings she drank water for breakfast so her girls could eat instead. But oh, they grew, like sunshine pushing through harmattan haze. Amana, wild-hearted, fearless as storm. She took apart broken radios, lined screws like beads, fixed things she'd never been taught. At 14, she fixed the village headmaster's ceiling fan, wrapped copper wire, oiled joints, and he paid her in more than money. He paid her in belief. Terrell, soft and still as water in a clay pot, lived inside pages. She read textbooks too old for their shelves, learned medicine long before she could pronounce half the terms. The librarian, touched by her hunger for knowledge, let her sweep floors in exchange for books nobody else wanted. Zavora glowed blue by the light of computer screens. She typed code in cafes with borrowed coins, shoulders hunched, fingers quick. Men laughed kindly. This one wants to be a magician. She smiled without defending herself and became one. Lantern light became their companion. When kerosene finished, moonlight replaced it. Their mother watched them sleep, 3 bodies breathing softly on palm mats, and thought, what was cast away can one day become crown. Fortune shifted like dry season to rain. All 3 earned secondary school scholarships, full, astonishing. Mireya wept, pressing the letters to her chest as though they were newborns. Years later, university scholarships followed, each success pushing them further from hunger's shadow. Time turned pages. Amana, grown, graduated top of her mechanical engineering class. Now she repaired not only fans but generators, engines, industrial machines. Her hands became instruments of innovation. Terrell's name wore new weight. Dr. Terrell Mireya. She walked hospital corridors with quiet authority, her voice steady as her mother once prayed. Zavora, global before she ever left Nigeria, built software for foreign companies from her wooden desk, the same desk her mother once used to fold laundry. 3 daughters, 3 flowers, watered by sacrifice, blooming beyond imagination. Back in Agba, time was not kind. Okocha remarried, a woman named Sulema, firm-voiced and quick-tempered. Soon she bore him a son, Ikenna, the boy he believed heaven reserved for him alone. Okocha carried him through markets like trophy, pride blinding him to fragility. But pride is not a shield, and blessings abused can rot into sorrow. Ikenna's cough arrived small, like a clearing of throat, then deepened into something that shook his ribs. Nights were fever, sweat, wheezing breaths like pebbles in a calabash. Doctors offered treatments, herbalists brewed dark teas, pastors declared curses and cures. Okocha spent everything, money, livestock, dignity, chasing healing. His workshop fell silent. Tools rusted. Dust settled where sawdust once danced. Ikenna lived 8 years, then no more. Okocha's grief was animal. He tore wrappers, rolled in dust, screamed until voice cracked. Villagers watched helplessly, some murmuring about karma, others about the sins of fathers revisiting their children. Sulema left soon after, carrying coins and bitterness. Even Mama Rayleigh, his mother, died, leaving him with ghosts and regret as companions. He aged like wood left in rain, warping, bending, losing form. One afternoon, limping along the Arawa highway, he collapsed. A trader found him, body frail like hunger-struck maize stalk. Strangers carried him to University Hospital, placed him in the charity ward, the place reserved for the forgotten. He lay there unaware that his past was walking toward him, wearing a white coat. On her third day of rounds, Dr. Terrell Mireya received a patient file. Male, 58. Malnutrition, respiratory failure. Name, Okocha of Ikorodu, Agba. Her pulse stumbled. The room felt too small to hold history. She walked into the ward. There he lay, sunken cheeks, gray stubble clinging to thin skin, ribs like fences. She knew his face, knew it like one knows a scar they never asked for. "Doctor," he rasped, weak as a candle flame, "will I make it?" He did not know her, but she knew him. Terrell treated him as any patient, gentle, skilled, precise, though inside her chest a storm roared. Later, in the call room, she let tears fall quietly, her head in her hands. Not hatred, but grief for the father she never had, and the childhood never lived. She called her mother. Mireya arrived hours later, walking hospital halls with slow reverence, as if destiny itself sat waiting in a white bed. When she stepped into his room, Okocha's eyes widened, recognition slicing through memory like lightning. "Mireya?" He choked, voice breaking like old wood. She stood, not triumphant, not cruel, but whole. Stronger than the day he cast her out. Days later, Amana and Zavora arrived. The room swelled with silence, heavy with years unsaid. Terrell stepped forward, voice soft, steady, brave. "We are the daughters you threw away, and we became enough without you." Kocha wept, loud, unrestrained. He reached out, trembling, but pain held the daughters in place. Forgiveness is not instant. It is soil needing rain. Mireya moved first. She took his hand, the same hand that once pushed her into exile. "I forgave you long ago," she said, "so bitterness would never raise my children." In that moment, something shifted, not quite healing, but the beginning of it. Okocha lived months longer, long enough to whisper "I am sorry" again and again, long enough to watch birthdays he once called curses, long enough to see his daughters brilliant, strong, and know what he lost, what he nearly buried. He died quietly, not redeemed fully, but softened, like wood smoothed over time. Finally, the truth that remains: do not measure destiny by gender. A child is not a curse because she is girl. Greatness wears no chromosomes. A mother's sacrifice can build empires from dust. And what is thrown away in ignorance may one day be the very thing you return to beg for.